You are listening to WNHH FM 103.5 LP, coming out of New Haven, Connecticut. Hello and welcome to Dateline New Haven and WNHH. I'm your host, Paul Bass, inviting you to look behind the headlines on the stories that make the Elm City tick. Nothing ticks better than Pundit Friday, which we're about to begin here in the WNHH studio with the #1 pundits in the media universe. Pundits like the dairy-free goddess of our grassroots radio operation, the belle of our ball, the managing editor of the Inner City News, the mother of a Carnegie Hall singer.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. And the host of WNHH's Love Babs Love Talk. Babs Rawls-Ivy. Good morning.
Yeah. Love Babs.
We have the Queen of Quippery and the quintessence of compassion, La Voz Hispana publisher Norma Rodriguez-Reyes.
¿Qué pasa?
We got Heavy D Donald Trump devotee and the man who does the magic at WNHH, Harry Drost, the bravest man in New Haven. Markeisha Ricks is south
Yeah, the
on
wedding.
Friday, but for good, happy reasons. We'll look forward to her return. And I think there's one other person here. Let me check under the console. We have the mystical and metaphorical man on the money. The tackler of tempestuousness and titan of temperance.
Yeah.
The griot of the grassy knoll. The conquistador of cussing criminals, the keeper of the cure,
Conquistador.
the weaver of wellness and wisdom, mellifluous and meritocratic miner of melody, the plow driver of peace.
Oh, yeah.
The driver out of demons, discord, and dissonance, the optimizer of opulence and opportunity, the undertaker of unfiltered utterance, the erudite earl of ergonomics, the liberated lion of lucidity, the maniacal monarch of mercy,
My God.
the zealous zapper of xenophobia, the grandee of grandiloquence and gastronomics, the king of conspiracy concoction, deacon of the dozens, bodhisattva of battle rap, missionary of modesty, mesmerizer the
I want
masses,
to do that someday.
shaman of the shoreline, potentate of 360 state, recognized ringleader of risque repartee, the eighth wonder of the world, wizard of wise guide waggery, capable of casual conversation, first favorite flame, daring Don of dope deliberation, sultan of spit, West Indian whisper of wine, emperor of explosive exposition, esteemed elucidator of ebonics, top tier talent from Trinidad and Tobago, the dap tone deliverer of decency, the maximal media maestro, bodacious bold-faced barista of bop, the chess master of chill, primo practitioner of pop prestidigitation, the beyond just somewhat honorable high priest of hip-hop, the right reverend of rapture, the reigning raconteur of riffitude, the sanctified slayer of the slow-witted, the never late for supper, decorated, dazzling, and indefatigable dunker and dryer of the dinner dishes, maximum mixologist Joe Ugly.
Oh, my God, finally.
Show in the morning.
And he skipped some, by the way.
You're president accounted for.
Oh, absolutely.
You know who else is president accounted for today?
Yeah.
A blast from the past. I thought I was going back in time today.
Yeah.
Because lo and behold, I walked in here looking fit, healthy, happy.
I know.
Unrepentant as ever.
Prison does a body good.
John Rowland was here at WNHH, the governor.
Roland,
We used to talk about Rowland all the time, kind of the way we talk about Trump now. We just talk about Rowland all the time. He was governor for 2 terms, and he won a 3rd term. And then about a year into it, he was in New Haven at Long Wharf Theater. He was delivering some money to New Haven, and he was saying, what was I thinking when I decided to run for a 3rd term? Hey, we're getting feedback on the show. You guys hearing that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, we have one of Roland's buddies also running again.
Who's that?
Eddie Perez.
Oh!
He's running again, too?
Yeah, he just announced Thursday that he's running for mayor.
He's Latino.
Hey.
Hey, we about second chances.
All right, so let's just let our listeners know what we're talking about. Yeah. John Rowland was the governor, and he was one thing I remembered seeing him today is just how great he is with people. He's got that touch. When we're with Rowland, you like him, and it is genuine in the sense that he feels people. Yeah, he's
Paul,
a
just
hustler,
1 second.
baby.
Just 1 second. I think that mics on one of these things are on. That's why we're getting that.
The mics on what?
One of the cameras.
Oh, want to ask Harry?
Is Harry there?
Yeah, it's really distracting. My goodness. Keeping it going. Paul go out and address that. One of them happened to be on.
Well, in any case, John Rowland was the governor, and he was first elected in 1994 in a 4-way race for governor.
Oh, I don't remember that.
Youngest congressman in our state's history, U.S. congressman, came from Waterbury, ran in a 4-way race against Democrat Bill Curry, against independent Tom Scott, and against Eunice Rourke, who was the lieutenant governor from a third party with so he squeaked in. He also lost a 3-way race in 1990 that he might have won if it had been a 3-way race, just to be fair to the guy. And so when he was governor, very popular the first 2 terms, very conservative, but not an ideologue. And he won his 3rd term and then got busted for corruption. It's funny, in that campaign, he trounced this guy, Bill Curry, was running a rematch in 2002. And Curry was saying, here are all the reasons John Rowland will go to jail if he gets reelected. He started talking about hundreds of millions of dollars in no-bid contracts and gifts he was getting in return and things like that. And everyone said, you're such a weenie. And, Rowland was this really fun guy to be around, and Curry was a little bit stuck on himself, even though I liked the guy very much. He kind of came off a little effete, and kind of above it all. So Rowland was the guy everyone loved, kind of got the big guy on campus. But then within a year, in fact, he was going to jail, and he went twice. And he came, and then many years later, he became a radio personality. He's doing prison ministry now. He came on that wonderful show that Babs does called Criminal Justice Insider with Jeff Grant. I thought it was a great interview.
Thanks.
And I really enjoyed hearing him talk about criminal justice reform and how the issue evolved. I always thought John Rowland was an interesting guy to talk to about issues. He is completely unrepentant. He was talking about how important it was for people to go to jail and say, I'm not fighting anymore, I'm not bitter, and then how he's teaching other people to do that. And then he proceeded to go for 5 minutes about how he never did anything wrong and everyone had a political vendetta against him, including the Republican Bush appointee U.S. attorney who was in charge of the office when he went to jail.
It's like, ooh, okay.
So it all came back. Yeah.
What I would like to know is, when is he getting ready to drop his mixtape?
His what?
His mixtape. Now that he have all this prison cred, when he's gonna drop that rap mixtape, it's like, what's it?
First, Fly me to the moon.
But I was just remembering that whole mix of Rowland, because I'm remembering how some of that ethical stuff made you nuts.
Yeah,
how he had such a great personal manner. I watched him with there's a graduate student here, history, who's doing a study of the station. He was just doing so great talking to her, and it was genuine. He had that touch that politicians have.
Well, remember when this place here at the corner of Church and Chapel, when they were redoing that building that I believe Expressions was done, and they had some state funding or something like that with that.
Yep,
and
Center Plan, it was called.
Right.
Center Place, not Plan. It was Michael Schaefer's firm, and he got state money to help redevelop that. As John mentioned this morning when he came in, he did really support urban revival.
Well, I recall when, how they were doing the pull down to let the refill, refueling, and it did not work. Were you there that day?
I was, but I don't remember that part.
Yeah, it did not work. And he was like, I'm the governor. No, he had an attitude, and the way he said it was like.
But I'll tell you what did work, is that investment from the state did work.
Yes, it did. Absolutely, it did. So, yes, he did do some stuff that really did help urban areas. But I don't know what happened to Waterbury.
Got more money than anybody else, because he used to joke that Waterbury is the center of the universe.
Yeah, okay, but what happened?
Not much. It's still
exactly.
But it's not John Rowland's fault that the industrial economy has died and they don't have a Yale.
No, well, okay, yes, you're right. They don't have a Yale, and that makes
they got UConn.
That is.
Yeah, they have a branch of UConn.
They do. But I thought they were UConn. No, but I thought they were going to do something when I first saw that they had did what was that Palace, the Palace Theater downtown.
They are the Palace Theater.
And I saw that, and I was like, wow, they're getting ready to do to Waterbury what they did to New Haven, because it started with one block in New Haven, and then I thought, then it just went dead.
What's this thing about Waterbury is that his father, Rowland's father, was the city clerk of Waterbury, and he led a successful crusade against corruption in Waterbury, which really is the most corrupt city in the state. And then John kind of went in that tradition to call out Democrats, and then when he became governor, he got caught for corruption. It's interesting how that kind of goes around.
Oh, sir. Now, the thing that when he was here, I missed the interview, and I'm going to go back and check it out. But what was he? You said that he said that people were focused on him. Is that what it is?
He said it was all politics payback because it's true that it's amazing he came out of jail after doing like multi-million-dollar illegal contracts to get personal favors and money in his pocket. I mean, that was like slam dunk corruption.
Right.
And on a big scale, because it was hundreds of millions of dollars to the Tommaso Corporation. Then he and his aides formed an LLC to funnel their private winnings from all that.
Right.
So after he came out of jail, he was unrepentant. And then he started becoming a political consultant. And then he set up a sham operation to hide the money he was getting, campaign dollars from Republicans he was advising. And I know one guy, Mark Greenberg, who was his friend who ran for office, who turned down that offer because it was illegal. So somebody else did it, and they caught him again. And I think John's right that in our society, we don't need to be sending people to prison for that. And John Rowland, I think, is sincere about criminal justice reform. I think a lot of nonviolent people go to jail who shouldn't. I think a lot of I think we can have a lot fewer people in jail and have other ways to pay the debt to society.
Absolutely. Right.
But, I mean, and I agree that that wasn't the biggest crime anyone committed, and that one of the attorneys who prosecuted and then briefly ran for governor, but the head of that office he left out was a supporter of his, a U.S. attorney who was a Republican named Kevin O'Connor.
Right.
Oh, Kevin O'Connor went to work for the Bush administration. Kevin O'Connor put Democrats in jail for corruption. He recused himself for this one and did not interfere, and he let his people be bipartisan in weeding out corruption. You know, they changed the facts all these years later. But so is Eddie Perez, I guess. I didn't realize. So Eddie Perez, at the time Rowling went to jail, all these Democratic mayors were going to jail everywhere but New Haven.
Right.
So, and Eddie Perez was one of them, Hartford mayor. He also took favors, not the kind of money that Rowland was dealing with, but enough to go to jail.
But Waterbury mayor went because that was some scumbag, dirty nonsense.
Well, the Waterbury mayor was amazing, and he was a Republican, by the way.
Santa Petro, right?
No.
He went to
Santa Petro went to jail too in the 90s or late 80s.
I'm getting my corruption and
so
all my.
So Phil Giordano was amazing about that. Phil Giordano was the mayor of Waterbury. So they got to remember at this time there were corruption investigations going on of the mayors of New Haven, Waterbury, Bridgeport, and Hartford.
Were they investigating New Haven?
They were, because lower-level people were taking money, doing unethical stuff. And the agents actually told me that they had enough stuff on lower-down people in New Haven, but it was the mayors of those cities taking money, and they had limited resources. They had to go for the top, you know, because no one of us believed, right or wrong, John Stephan never took money. We thought he just liked the power, and he let people be corrupt under him to stay in power. Whereas these other guys were taking money. And then what happened in Waterbury was that the mayor was being investigated for financial corruption. He was in with the mob. He was giving them contracts he shouldn't get. He was putting money in his pocket. But then what they picked up on the wiretaps was that he was giving crack to a woman to bring her 6-year-old daughters into the office to have sex with him.
Can you imagine that?
Disgusting.
A lot, like not once.
Right.
And he was doing it all the time. So they stopped the investigation, were willing to sacrifice how much they would get on him on the financial corruption to stop that immediately. And John Rowland was never anything like that. I mean, it's just a bit. And what was interesting, too, was that guy Giordano was a Republican mayor. The year before they caught him, he ran for U.S. Senate against Joe Lieberman.
That's right.
And the argument he made against Lieberman was that he was soft on child rape because he supported money for the National Endowment of the Arts while he was doing all the skanky stuff.
Yeah, it's usually the guys who start off is saying this and that about someone else. Usually those are the guys that you have to look at and say, what's really under. You know, like when the Bill Cosby stuff came out, I was like, I'm not really surprised because he had such a big distraction trying to attack young black men, pull your pants up and this. Yeah, we know this.
And everybody's like, oh, yeah.
And that's so, you know, and not to drift too far into that, but, you know, the problem with that, and I've always highlighted, the problem with that is you don't hear that in different communities.
Oh, no, you don't
hear the Italian leaders telling the kids what they shouldn't do. You don't see it. If they do it very privately.
But you do hear right-wing Republicans who now run our country railing against gays and then having gay sex in the baths of our parts.
Right.
The preachers who are backing them having all their adulterous affairs. Just to be clear.
Yeah.
No, but those are I'm talking about in the community issue.
I don't think black leaders have a monopoly on hypocrisy for bad personal
I'm not
behavior.
saying they have a monopoly on it, but I'm just talking about what they
But there is an issue with respectability politics.
Okay, they attack our community. And that's the thing. That's the problem. I'm not talking about they have a monopoly, who have a monopoly or not on hypocrisy. I'm dealing with those who tend to look back and start pointing their fingers at our community in particular. And that needs to stop. That's all. I'm not giving any. I'm not saying that they're giving. Yeah, I would say they're giving people excuses to act up. Not like they need them. They already take them.
And we're taking a look at the Retro Corruption Tour of Connecticut here on Pundit Friday at 103.5 FM. WNHH, your home for community radio. Live streamed at NewHavenIndependent.org. So, Norma, Eddie Perez was the mayor of Hartford. He took money. He went to jail. I don't think he was ever too apologetic about it either. He's running for mayor again, huh?
I don't know if he took money. I think he took favors.
Right. He had his house
fixed
by a contractor.
Same thing.
You know, years ago, when people got involved in politics, you assumed that was part of the benefits of being involved in politics.
Who assumed that?
Whereas nowadays, you know, all of the politicians
right.
are glorified social workers. But years ago, that became
well, you know, you're absolutely
before the minority community got involved in politics.
Yeah, look,
that was
she's absolutely right. Politics before was a way. If you look back from actually it's all the way on up to the 80s, where you had different individuals, you know, financially empower themselves just through their political office.
It is like what was considered okay. Just for the record, Norma, when you say women minority community got involved, mayor of Bridgeport, white. Governor, white. Mayor of Waterbury, white.
Yeah,
mayor of Hartford, Latino. 3 out of 4 white.
No, but when it became a big crackdown.
I know what she means.
It became a big crackdown in the 80s of politicians, because when you went into office back then, it was like that, the smoke-filled room. I'm not saying it was right or wrong.
I'm just saying, what was the first big scandal called?
The first big political
in the
scandal?
80s.
In the 80s was Marion Barry. That was
nope. What was before Marion Barry?
Oh, I don't even know.
Ab scam. All white people.
Yeah. Oh. Okay, but
I agree. The Marion Barry thing was. I agree. Marion Barry thing was down dead racist. They set him up because they wanted him for other things, and they played into the whole thing about the sex-crazed black man and the crack addiction. That was evil what they did to Marion Barry, and I agree it was racist. But I just think the corruption was equal opportunity, and so was the prosecution.
But what I'm saying is, it was there. But as soon as you start having minorities start holding those positions, that's when it became this huge thing. I'm not saying they were right.
No, I'm saying it wasn't just the minorities.
Okay. No, and I'm not saying it was just the minorities either, Paul. That's not my point. What I was just saying is that as soon as the 80s came around, I'm just going to what Norma was saying.
Yeah.
Prior to when minorities start taking these offices, it wasn't a crackdown prior to that. What was the big crackdown before that?
Yeah. So you know what's interesting about one thing Roland said was he talked about norms of change. Things we used to think was okay, we used to think was okay, aren't. So I was just thinking about the DeStefano administration, stuff he got in trouble for. Nowadays, we would think, of course, you can't do that. But back then, no one thought it was wrong. Like a city budget chief, the head of the budget department, on City Hall stationery, writes a letter to city workers and city contractors. And in the letter, it says, doesn't ask, you will give this dollar figure to the mayor's reelection, and there's the envelope. You know, so the guy who's handing out loans and tax breaks to a developer also has a private business on the side and gets them in return to give them insurance contract and
all the good old days.
All this kind of stuff is considered just the way it was done.
But here's the question: did the guy who filled out the envelope, wrote out the check and put it in that envelope, was he also charged for?
He didn't commit a crime.
He did not?
They hate that. They hated that because it was pay to play, and it's still pay to play, by the way.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've been following.
But isn't that a kickback? I'm just curious.
It is a kind of legalized kickback.
Yeah.
But now the U.S. Supreme Court has really screwed up all this kind of campaign finance stuff with the corporation. Yeah, people and free speech rights as a donation. Yeah.
I swear, if you give me, if I have something, you're not getting anything back. I'm here to tell you.
Norma, what do you think about Eddie Perez?
So my whole thing is that the benefits change as the years go by, and our communities, our African American, Latino, immigrant, whatever communities get involved. Now all of a sudden, the benefits are not there anymore.
Well, but Norman, let's be careful though, because the benefits that you're talking about were corrupt in the beginning. I'm not even trying to. Which benefits?
I'm talking about. You know, when you talk about the police department, when you talk about the fire department, when you talk about even the way you were given jobs before, there was a lot of nepotism going on. There was a lot of friendship
that was
choosing.
Wrong.
Now everything, even to go and be a trash collector, you got to go take a civil service exam.
But the nepotism was wrong.
And who are the ones who are going to be getting those jobs? It's our people.
I understand, but
now they got to take exams.
I hear what you're saying, but the nepotism system was wrong. It's the nepotism system is what kept us out in the first place. And if we start doing it now, No, imagine if
and how did you get it before the rules changed? It was people who did transactional politics. So they would sell out Dixwell, sell out the Hill to get those jobs, but give the white people what they want for the citywide projects and their big money tax breaks. I don't think it was better in the old days.
No, I never said that.
No, you're not.
No.
Norma is.
Oh, okay. It was
Norma,
not.
what about Eddie Perez? So how do you feel about him running for mayor again?
You know, this is how I feel about him. The mayor of Washington, there was a couple of them here in Connecticut also that have been to prison, have come back.
Washington, D.C.? You're talking about Marion Barry?
Yeah. Yeah.
But
so they paid their dues. They came back. They were elected by the people. So I think, I believe in second chances.
Okay.
Paul knows that, right?
I do too.
Well,
so it's this thing.
From,
there was a Latino mayor, because now there's a white mayor in Hartford, as there is in every city but New Haven, and that could change this year too. There was a Latino mayor who was not a crook in Hartford, and there was sort of engineered by the elites to get rid of him by getting African American voters to unite with white voters to get him out. What, you wouldn't rather see Segarra come back? I think he just wasn't a good campaigner the way Eddie Perez is.
I think what happened with Segarra, he ran an ethnic campaign. You can't run an ethnic campaign, no matter if you're the majority. No matter if you're the majority.
Because there's not high voting rates without Latinos, right?
And what had happened is at that time, and I knew that Bronin was going to win, because what happened is that as soon as Eddie Perez got elected, the white community just went to sleep. Mm-hmm. They decided it's their game, let them play, and they just never came out anymore. When Bronin came out, the sleeping giant awoke, and they started voting.
I thought they also got it by engineering an alliance with African Americans.
Yes, definitely.
So how do you feel about this race? Do you feel okay about Perez coming back?
You know what? It's really too bad that it has to be with him having come out of jail, because that's all that people think about.
Talk about.
How can you guys be supporting a next criminal? That's it. And perception is everything in life.
How do you feel about it?
Even if he has changed, I tell you, I believe people do change.
You believe
so
if
he wants to run, I think he has all the right in the world
to do.
do.
Has he changed?
I think so. Well, I would hope so.
You know what's interesting to me, Paul, is these...
I actually thought he had a lot of strengths, Eddie Perez. I thought Eddie Perez had a pretty good track record in the community over the years, what he did with the Learning Center, and I thought that he was smart. I thought he wanted to do good things in Hartford.
What's interesting to me is that these seats that they go after today, 25, 30 years ago, those were just ceremonial seats, i.e. the mayor of Hartford was ceremonial until Saxon Perry. What's her name?
Eddie Perez is the one who made it a strong mayor.
What was it? Carrie Saxon Perry made it a seat. She made it a seat. The state treasurer's position... The state treasurer position was just a ceremony seat. Gerald Lamb had it at first, and then Hank Parker took it over and made it something. And now it's to see how they fight over these seats now. The chairs that they were just thrown away, they were ceremonial, and that's the only way that minorities got in, and we made something of them.
But you know what's happening with our communities that I have seen through the years in my political experience is that many times we ourselves sacrifice because we're not willing to come to a compromise. So we would rather give it up than come to a compromise. And I think that's what happened a lot. Eddie Perez, it was his own community that also did him in.
Right, exactly. Okay? And the same thing here.
So he didn't do himself in?
Community. John Daniels, it was his own community who did him in.
John Daniels?
Yeah, but John Daniels didn't commit a crime.
Right.
No, I'm just saying in terms of what ends up happening many times in terms of, the support.
The support for the seat. Yeah. To get in that support. Okay, I thought the community was behind John Daniels. Am I wrong, Babs?
I thought you are wrong.
No.
I'm wrong?
There was a certain pretty important block that ditched them because they didn't get a contract.
Yeah.
Oh, is that right?
That's why he didn't get reelected.
Oh, the person's dead.
Oh, did he not get reelected, or did he not run?
He didn't run again. He was.
But when he ran the first time against John DeStefano, he won.
He had,
and he won by a strong sign.
Yeah, second time too.
Yeah, exactly. And the second. Well, no, I don't think John DeStefano ran the second time.
No, he didn't. John Einhorn did.
Right, exactly. So, but John Daniels won very strong. The black community supported him very strong.
Yeah.
He did not run a
for
third.
The re-election, that's right, because the African American community was very disenchanted with him.
No. See, hold on. When he ran against John DeStefano the first time was in 1989. 1989.
Consolidated around him.
They consolidated. But then he ran again 2 years later.
He didn't have primary. He ran a general against Republican John Einhorn.
That's right. John Einhorn. That's what it was. Well, yeah, you're right. in this town, it's a Democratic swing there.
Well, I don't have a real chance. He had been 20-something years as an alderman. He was known citywide.
Right. John Daniels had history in this town. So, yes, John Daniels, he had the support, by the way. And the second time around, there were some people who didn't.
When he decided not to run the third time, he was being abandoned by certain blocks. And he also was getting tired of the job.
That's right. Let's face that fact. It wasn't also, even if it was such, he could have put up a good fight if he wanted to. And I think he could have put out the people. I believe that John Daniels, if he wanted to.
Some pretty important black voting
I don't
blocks
think so.
were ready to make, they were ready to make the deal with the
No, he lost. I mean, he didn't have the black support that he needed when he was in office. Like, once he got in office, he couldn't corral people. So,
Well, no, couldn't. Yeah, but like I said, he couldn't corral because John was tired of Dan.
He was
literally tired.
And the wheels came off the government.
Exactly.
But I just think even when he was in office, I don't think he had black support. Like, I think black people were just...
They were expecting a lot.
Well,
they
were
just
foolish about...
And, of course, he got handed the city at a time when it was in fiscal crisis.
Yeah, it was. I mean,
Serious fiscal
He was
crisis.
dealing with fiscal crisis from day one. It was the worst recession we had until the 2004.
Right.
2006. Demetrius Anderson, talking about second chances.
Yeah.
Here's a man who was a model second chance New Havener. He got out of jail 13 years ago. He'd been caught for identity theft and some fraudulent financial behavior. He had done it both state charges and federal. He spent the years in state prison, and then he was supposed to be transferred for another 13 months to a federal jail, and the marshals forgot. So he came to New Haven, and he built a new life that he's built. He works for the city, he has a second job, he bought a condo, he's in his church. Good guy. His life's working out. Then the marshal said, we made this mistake. And they said, we got to send you back to jail.
Wow.
Prison. And he fought it, and the Independent wrote about it. Tom Breen got on CNN, and they changed their mind, said, we don't need to send you back to jail. So he got a little relief, but he's still on edge. This week he found out that the prosecutors have decided that we don't need to send you back to jail because the marshals can't make the call. They can say we screwed up, but we still have to get you, but it's up to the court.
What do you mean by he was there? Oh, gosh, I missed this part of the story. What do you mean he ended up in New Haven? How?
I don't know how he came up here. I don't know if he was from here partly before or not. It was down in Philly. It was a Connecticut State Prison, then Philadelphia Federal he was supposed to serve, if I'm not mistaken.
And how did he get out now?
He got out because he served a state time, and he was supposed to serve another 13 months back then in federal. The marshals forgot.
But they just let him loose?
They didn't come for him.
Oh, okay.
He got out of prison, so he went home. He came to New Haven. So,
okay.
So anyway,
right.
so this was like sort of what would be the purpose when someone's reformed and served time to send him back. So finally, after that nerve-wracking and then experience in national TV, they decided, the prosecutors, we don't need to send him to prison, but the judge won't release that he would have to, the judge won't let him go on the probation yet. So that's still unclear. The judge
and that's
enrolled.
where we need this criminal reform, because this is why Meek Mills ended up back in prison for popping a wheelie. This is where these judges have to come to this conclusion. If
judge hasn't ruled yet, but he's got
nervous. but I'm saying they got.
I mean, as long as you have enough media pressure, because that judge don't want to look like an idiot.
My point is, we should not need to have media pressure to get these people to do the right thing. At the end of the day,
I mean, that would just be a travesty to
total travesty. How could someone else look into?
It wasn't like it was a violent crime, right?
And it wasn't like it was his fault. He didn't send him back to Philadelphia.
It was a paper crime, and honestly, it's not his job to remind them to do their job.
Exactly. It's like, excuse me,
hello?
Handcuffs. Hello.
I need to be transported to federal prison now.
Exactly.
That's not his job.
It's like they're totally not.
Well, my job completely is to remind you. You're listening to Pundit Friday here on WNHH-FM.
I hope he gets what he needs.
You're home for community. So do we all.
Home for community
radio, 103.5 FM, live streamed at NewHavenPendant.org. What about second chances? Do the right thing. Does that apply to Sean Madison? He's the chief administrative city.
Like, why don't they want him? I'm trying to understand this whole foolishness.
Okay, he didn't do anything wrong, but so that's not the same thing.
They just don't like him? Is this a like thing?
Under a new rule, the Board of Alders gets to be like the Senate. They have to confirm a top aide who's nominated by the mayor.
I got that part.
The mayor can't just pick her top aides.
So why did they say
she
no?
picked this guy saying we need this top job that oversees line departments like police and fire. It's top level position.
Isn't he still a part? Temporary.
So when he first came up 6 months ago, they said no way.
Why?
They were mad. He had been chief because he had worked for the DeStefano administration, and he used to work for labor unions. And then when he worked for the city, he sometimes was on the other side of labor unions.
And did he break any rules?
So you're not with them all the time. They come after you.
So they voted him down. So he was on an acting basis for 6 months. Now, technically, a mayor can keep renewing an acting person. We have some people like that now, been there for years. The Steph administration had it for years. So you just don't get to be full permanent. But Madison said, I don't want to do that. I want to follow the rules. So my 6 months is up. I'm resigning. And the mayor said, well, the alders who voted him down, a lot of them are saying he's actually been great at the job. He's been really open with them.
Oh,
he's been trying
they
to
just
solve
now
problems.
figure this out that he's good at this.
But it's unclear whether the mayor is going to come back for a second time, so let's have another vote, because she doesn't want to do it if they're going to vote him down again. So Delphine Clyburn, who was her loudest critic for New Hallville Alder, said she's still going to vote him down.
And what's her rationale for this?
I'm not sure. Another one who would vote him down, so I'm going to vote for him now. He's been doing a good job. The board president, who walks a finer line because she's, responsible for the whole body, she's made it clear she thinks he's done a good job.
So is she voting him up?
Unclear. She's got to be able to deliver. If she wants him back, how important is it? How do you round up the vote?
I'm sorry.
But, there are all sorts of theories. One theory was that they want the Board of Alders likes the mayor to be weak.
Why?
Because then they can run the show.
But they
so
but not the Board of Alders.
Do they understand that their jobs are not full-time jobs, that they have other things to be doing too?
Well, a weekend, they liked.
I really hate when these politicians do this. This is exactly what Jim Comey, Jim Comey is his name, the former FBI director.
James Comey.
James Comey. What he did to Hillary Clinton with that whole stuff was just to make her a wounded dove when because they thought she was going to win. But they figured they were going to make her a wounded dove, and it always backfired.
That's interesting.
I hold him responsible for a lot of this mess. Because he stepped out of line.
Way out of line, because it was all about making her a wounded dove. Let's slow these Clintons down.
Why don't they want a strong mayor? I'm not understanding that.
Because the whole reason they passed the rules where they could do these votes on all these appointees is they want more powerful legislature.
But all this stuff was against Stefano originally.
It was to get Stefano. So we have a strong mayor system, right? The mayor has a lot of powers. We have 3 branches of government. And the legislature here traditionally has not had a lot of power. And they want more power. And the reason
power to do what exactly?
To say no to Yale.
To say no to Yale?
Yeah.
The largest employer in the city.
Right, but Yale has a lot of power. Yale needs a break on its power.
But you can have checks and balances in different forms, Paul. There are ways to have checks and balances.
With this?
No.
Yes.
They have?
How? Not with Madison, no.
Oh, okay. Of course not. Of course not. You know who's going to end up getting hurt? The city.
The city.
The city.
The city, the residents.
The citizens of this city.
Is he good at this job?
Exactly. The guy's good at his job. So why in the name of God are you giving this guy for power?
Is there somebody else they want for this job?
I'm so sick of the wounded dove mentality. Just knock it off.
Is there somebody else that they want for the job?
It's so silly.
So they just say no just because they can.
Exactly.
Right.
Because they can, they are.
What is this, paint by numbers?
They want to show that they have the upper hand. It's simple as that.
What they're showing is...
I think Norma's right.
What they're showing is they lack political sophistication to understand when to pick and choose their battles.
Exactly.
This is not a big enough This is ridiculousness. You pick and choose your battles on things that matter to the city at large.
Okay, I give you this. What you gonna give me down the line?
Right. You need.
What do you gotta go through the whole shut 'em out deal?
Listen, anybody who wants that CAO job. Who wants to be the ringmaster? Let them be it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Especially
That'll
if they're
save
qualified.
you phone calls in the middle of the night.
Jeez.
Like let him, if he wants this job, let him do the job, because that'll save you in the end. He's smart, he's credible, he's got skills, and he knows the landscape.
What's blowing my mind
And
is we have someone who said that he's doing a good job, but you're still not deciding on what it is. So what would it take you to get to a yes?
I'm sorry.
What exactly?
I would be more impressed if they say, Can you tell me why we don't have the escape center for the kids?
Yeah.
So I'd be more impressed with
Right.
that. I'd be more impressed with them hauling people in and telling me, explain to me why we can't do this now. So I would prefer that.
Right.
Right? Because that makes more. Or explain to me about the development. What is the overall plan for all these apartments going up? Talk to me about that. Talk to me about, okay, what are we doing around this airport thing? Because we on the hook for some X amount of federal.
What do you think about the airport?
I mean,
should we have
listen,
a longer runway? They say they can get
We're
there.
not getting that airport as long as Looney is a state senator, and you have Paolillo, and you have, what's the other gentleman?
Lamar, yeah.
Who?
Lamar.
But you also have the other alderman from East Shore. What's his name?
Jody Ortiz.
Huh?
Jody Ortiz.
No. The alderman, the one with the little ponytail.
Sal DeCola.
As long as those folks are representing East Shore, we're not getting.
Well, it's not those folks. They're responding to constituents.
Right.
So the neighborhood is split.
They're responding
the people
to
who
their
are against
constituents.
expansion.
Listen, this is what I
They're
know.
voters
And
who
this is
get
what
them elected.
This is what I believe, and I've said this from the moment we've been doing these shows. You cannot talk about economic development without talking about transportation across all levels.
Yep.
That means air, train,
Buses,
highways, and
everything.
byways.
Yep.
We can't talk about economic development in this region without a strong airport. That's number one. So we got to shore up airport. We got to shore up our bridges and tunnels. We got to shore up our highways and byways.
We have to shore up the bus system.
And the local transit system.
Exactly.
But people are not going to come here if they cannot get their people in and out.
Correct.
They got to be able to get their people in and out.
Especially
But the
Salesforce that's
residents
moving
of New
across.
Haven, and especially that area, do not want to sacrifice themselves for the good of the
then
whole.
put your damn house up for sale and move.
I do think. Yeah,
They're elderly.
I hear you.
They're
folks.
elderly because
Well,
all the new
then
people
apply
that are
for
moving in there
elderly
are
housing.
Latinos.
A lot of the people are young who feel it's going to hurt the environment if you pave over more. There's a lot of pollution from the planes that we've been wasting a lot of public money for an airport they think is not viable, that the airports come, then they leave soon after. They think you can go to Bradley, shore up the transformation there. I see two sides. I have to admit,
I see two sides
I'm a
too,
little bit
but-
agnostic because I think there's this religious belief that the business community has that if you just keep making along a runway, all these airlines are coming to New Haven. I think there are much bigger trends in the airline industry at play that have made Tweed non-competitive. Tony Harp, the mayor, says she believes the trends are about to shift and that smaller airports like New Haven are going to be positioned to get that business. She might be right. I don't know. I'm just saying that I find this an interesting two-sided discussion, which is fun for me as a journalist when I really feel like I see good arguments on both sides and arguments that don't persuade
I
me.
just feel like we have this. We could position this airport to be a gem in our cap, right? A feather in our cap. We could, and we've not been able to sort of do that yet. So making the runways longer for more planes. Okay, I get the argument for it because I was on this commission for my term. Yes, I was on this.
Was there any
commission.
commission you weren't on?
Yeah, there was.
Were you on like the animal shelter commission?
No, but I was good friends with whose name it honors. She was my mentor.
Robin Krugman.
Yeah, she was my mentor when I first came on the board.
Okay, so some connection there too.
So she
were you ever on the Civil Service Commission?
I was on the Commission of Equal Opportunities, which is the oldest municipal commission in the country.
Yep.
Wow.
So I was on that.
Which is in the
commission.
news now because the person who got fired, Nicole Jefferson, won another appeal of her firing. She might be coming back.
Well, then, listen, whatever. I actually like Nicole Jefferson. So I thought she was a great person, a good person. I think she did I think she ran that organization as well as anybody could run it. I don't know the particulars of what happened with the breakdown in communication was or what laws she broke or whatever. But
no, she didn't do anything criminal. This is about ethics and how it was set up. She ran it a certain way, the way it was set up in the DeStefano administration.
Yeah.
No norms have changed. Nowadays, should a city agency be running a separate nonprofit out of the same office with money from people you're regulating and not giving financial information about how you're using government money?
That's another thing that has to be addressed. I mean, it has to be addressed. And when we don't
it was
put
just
eyes
mishandled
on,
because the way they tried to fire
but that's what I mean.
with these like criminal accusations that weren't true. Yeah.
It was mishandled, and that's the issue. That's what she did is not the issue. How they handled it is the issue.
And both sides now have demonized the other. They've made Nicole Jefferson into things she's not. They've made the mayor into things she's not, and it's all argued as one side or the other.
Yeah,
like the whole story.
But but this is the point that I was making about last week about the guy with the tattoos. The tattoos are not the issue. Those are not the issue. The issue is what do you have in place to address so these things. Because you cannot, after the fact, he's been on his job and say these things. I mean, this is somebody's civil rights. Tattoos are not the problem. Content of character is the problem. Now, if he's been out there being an officer of not in high regard for the community, if he's been violent or abusive, that's one thing. He's not that because of his tattoos. He's already that.
Were you ever on the Solid Waste Commission?
No.
It didn't exist yet at that time.
Oh, well, see, there
How
you
about
go.
on the... that was my trick
I was
question
on
for
the
you,
Peace
Babs.
Commission with Al Martyr. I was on that, which
You were
I
on the
loved.
Board of Police Commissioners.
I was on the Board of Police Commissioners.
You were on the Board of Alders.
I was on
But
the Board
they
of
called the Board of
Alders.
Aldermen.
You know
then.
what? From now on, your name is Commissioner. I'm done.
Oh, I like that. The Commissioner. And
That's
she's on
right.
Pundit.
Yeah.
She's on Pundit Friday, which you're listening to at 103.5 FM, live streamed at newindependent.org. Hey, folks, there's a whole commission that got set up after the overdoses on the Greed last summer.
Are you going to be on this one too, boy?
No, they're not gonna call me for that.
No,
It's the overdose
Please
commission.
don't call me for that.
They're pushing to have the bus stops removed on the
Didn't I
green.
mention that last week?
See,
That's the nonsense.
One of the things to do.
You know what that
is?
is?
Oh,
This is just another way. This is another way. Because listen,
Negroes
removal.
Come on.
We don't want people on our green.
Yeah.
We don't want that element or that.
It ain't even an
But
element,
I don't
man.
think it's the Negroes that are
come on.
that are overdosing.
Oh no.
It's not an overdose problem.
No. It's not.
No.
Thank you. That's an excuse problem.
There are a lot of strung out white people there, like falling over the
But
bed.
that's not.
The ones that are
That's
sleeping
not
on
the
the
problem.
green
Look,
is
I look out my window.
I'm sorry.
Green.
I
There's
look out
always
my
been
window.
overdose white people.
Thank you.
Now we just worried about them. No,
Yeah.
what we're concerned about is all the little black kids downtown.
Thank you.
See,
That's
they
what
don't
it
like
goes down.
that.
That's what they don't want.
They don't want all the black kids walking up and down the streets of these fine establishments.
Especially
See,
now.
that's the problem.
Look, there are people from my building. If you watch the way they walk, where I'm talking, they coming across from 360. They walk on this side of the street coming from 360. I'm talking about on the north side of Chapel Street, on the arts, where the side that has the dental shop. They never cross over on the bus side, on the bus stop side. When they're walking from Orange to Church, they walk on the north side. Then when they get over there, then they cross over and they walk on the old mall side. Anything to avert where the minorities are. I watch it all the time. They will never walk straight down by the bus stop.
Is it
They'll never
hundreds and
walk straight
hundreds
over.
and hundreds
That's
of
so
white
interesting,
drug
Joe.
people?
Joe, that's really interesting.
Oh no, I see it every
because
day.
that block you're talking about, there are a lot more black shoppers,
Absolutely.
stores oriented to them
Absolutely.
on the south side of the
Do,
block.
do the white math, Paul.
And they avoid it
Well,
like
according
the
to white
plague.
math, it's integrated. Yeah.
Here's how crazy it is. I was walking with someone from my building who was white, and
Did you cross the street?
I watched a pattern. Oh no, I did. I watched a pattern. I said, okay, let me see if he's gonna go straight on down Orange Street. Chapel Street. If he's gonna go on the which side, the north or, and I'm watching him. So as soon as, because the light changes, you could do the full crossover. He walked straight over, and it wasn't until he saw me making that diagonal cross, because it was a four-way stop. The light came on. The walk was four-way. He saw, and he looked, and he did and then crossed back with me.
So with the white man whisperer.
Pretty much. I'm the white man whisperer now.
That's a nice description.
I heard something interesting about your building.
Oh,
For listeners who don't know, Joe Ugly lives in the 90-story residential tower called 360 State
Have you
Street.
seen that pool?
It was built a decade ago.
Yes.
Now hold that thought.
Can you
for a
imagine
second.
that?
Hold that thought for a
I thought
second.
it was built like last week.
I know. It
Yeah.
sure seemed that way.
Hold that thought for a second. Okay, now a new building is going up, not as tall.
Right.
A new complex is going up on
Because
Audubon.
he ain't having that.
No way. He wasn't going to allow that block his view on his 90th floor. So on Audubon Street,
Yes.
that whole super block there, Audubon Grove State Orange,
Yeah.
they're building 267 apartments, I think it
5
is.
stories. Mhm.
5 stories.
I wouldn't move
and-
there. They'd
and
have blown
stores.
off the things.
Well, this week, apparently they're building a little bit on the cheap and they're going fast.
Yeah.
They've failed 12 inspections
Oh, my
since
I'm not
God.
at all
October
surprised.
27th.
Watch
I'm
it
not
be-
at all surprised.
Watch it become
Stop
low-income
you right.
Paul,
housing.
here's something
So
that.
wait, I didn't finish.
Oh, okay.
So then this week,
Low-income housing?
Tom Breen told us all about it. He ran out to see what happened. They a big wall that they
Blew
were
off.
building on the 3rd floor fell in the wind and crashed on the ground. People could have died. Luckily, the construction crew had gone home, and a security guard was 10 feet away. They tell me that if the security guard had been there, he would have died. So they had not obviously done their work well.
Right.
The city put a stop to it, and now the building official, Jim Tercio, told us that, so he's going to try something. He said, look, you're failing too many of these. You're doing the work sloppy. We're going to put a new rule into place, a rule that we experimented with at Joe Ugly's building a decade ago. So a decade ago, they had the same problem at 368. It was going up fast, and they were they were failing a lot of inspections. So usually what happens, every time you want to build something new at your house, or if you're on a project, you call the building department and says, we're ready to do this. Can you go inspect it so we can have permission to get started? They go every day or whatever. They
Mess
say,
around, I'll move out. Keep talking. I'll move out tomorrow.
No, it's fine. They
Oh,
fixed
okay.
it. So he said, we're going to do a new rule for you guys because you guys are rushing it. You're sloppy. We're going to come only once a week. So anything new you want to do, you got to wait till we come our once a week. And we're coming with the whole team. We're coming with electrical inspectors. We're coming with building inspectors. We're coming with plumbing inspectors. And we're going to do all those inspections at once. And if you fail them,
That's like the Elliot Ness posse.
and then if you fail them, we're coming. And if you fail them, you can't do anything for another whole week. You got to fix them, and we'll be back the next week. So we're coming. You got to take your time, do it right. And if you don't do it right, it's going to take you longer to get back to
Oh, that
work.
should be the rule all the
Well,
time.
I don't think is you need a lot of people to do it. There are a lot of things going on.
So
but
what?
Yeah, you're right.
And
So anyway, so now they're going to do that at Audubon Square. They said this is the weekly system we're putting in
that
place.
makes me sick.
Because 360 State end up, he said, once we did that, no problem.
Oh, God.
Joe Ugly could sleep at night.
Thank you. Now I know why I get headaches. Listen, no, something about that whole development that really have me antsy. And now that you highlight this, it even makes me more antsy. If you realize when they first put it, the first part that they built was the garage. It's the garage
In
set.
the interior of the block.
And then they wrap the apartments around the garage.
And the stores, yeah.
And the apartment and the stores goes around. And the first thing came to my mind was, are they sure they sealing those walls off in the garage properly?
I know,
and I have a proper
Markeisha
vent?
had that same, she's like, that can't be safe, healthy.
Exhaust
it
fumes.
it is a pretty great idea
You
to put the
are
garage in the middle, though, because then it's not fronting the street and using the front for active life.
Yeah, but what
But
about the
what are you
people-
doing about the people who have these
What about the
apartments
carbon
around it and you
monoxide?
have carbon monoxide seeping back into the apartment?
make sure it's
you
sealed,
have
though.
but that's the point. If you have these violations, how are we sure that these things
Well, your
will not
question
end
is a
up?
very good one, and it makes me think of something the fire chief, John Alston Jr., told me. He said, I got two concerns here.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of buildings in New England now, they look on the outside like all your older buildings in New Haven.
Mm-hmm.
They look brick facade or like that. But inside, they're using a newer, lighter weight wood material.
Yep.
And the way they seal, and I'm not an expert in this stuff. Matter of fact, I'm an idiot on this stuff. But he said the way you combine the parts, it lets a lot more air through, a lot more shafts. So not only did he feel that this collapse happened this week because it's lighter material not put together as well in this method. Once it's built, he says, when a fire starts, there are these air shafts created that make the fire go
Did
a
we
lot
learn
faster
anything
in
from
the
the
building.
Lobioko trap?
So he said it's
Remember
going to
that?
look like, he said it's not only this, it's throughout New England. And he said that he's worried that, he said like in your building here, we have the Independent. That's one of the older buildings. He said, if a fire starts, I'm going to have 15, 20 minutes, whatever, to fight that fire. He said, in those buildings, I'm going to have to get my people out in 5-8 minutes because it's going to go so fast they die if they stay.
Shit. I mean, ooh, sorry.
It's okay, you didn't say that.
And that's a reality. That response
That's
is reality.
scary to me.
When I first saw them wrapping this garage with apartments, I said, not even a gunpoint could you get me up inside of
But
it.
you see, I want them to wrap the apartments. I just want them to build it right.
Yeah, but and here's the problem,
Well,
Paul.
clearly they weren't.
And
so.
clearly they weren't. And on top of it, you got to rely on technology. You got to rely on events to work consistently.
Do they ever have fire people on these committees when they view? They run them by them. I don't remember when we used to do this work.
Fire marshal. You're probably on that commission too, just that you have so many.
No, I wasn't on that committee.
You were never on the board of fire commissioners? All right, so
I
that's
like my
the next
garage.
appointment.
She
It's
was in
open.
police commission, right?
My
Yeah,
garage
police
is
commission.
open.
Okay.
They're over the.
Well, that's a downer. We got a weekend coming, so let's just mention that.
Chuck Allen vetted me for the police commission.
Oh, R.I.P.
He was like, the police commission or the board of ed. I was like, oh,
Interesting.
no, not the board of ed.
Cross Senior Thea Ranelli. She got a delivery from Amazon this week. She opened the box. It had a $40,000 scholarship to study computer science, trying to get more women into the field.
Oh,
How
nice.
much is the tuition though? The tuition is like
Any
$130,000.
school of her choice. She could take it to UConn. She could take it wherever she's going.
As long as she can
Nicholas
not have to.
McGee. He lives on a sailboat in City Point across from where Norma lives because he wants to save money. And he's a space geek. He put together a team in New Haven to design a habitat for Mars where astronauts could live for a year and do work made out of material from Mars. They printed it out with a 3D printer in Makehaven, in New Haven. They sent it to a NASA contest and they won.
Oh, congrats.
$32,000, $623.88.
I like that.
Congrats.
That was
Yeah.
nice.
So everything's okay.
Look at all this talent. Look,
Congratulations.
Norma, all this talent we could be incubating.
And
you
there's-
called it.
And what greater talent than the Friday Pundits you've been listening to today, like the great Joe Ugly of the many, many appellations.
I thank you.
We
sir.
got Norma Rodriguez-Reyes. We got Baz Ivy. We got Harry Drost doing the magic behind. Thank you to Harry Drost, as always, because, everything goes great here because of Harry Drost.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because you don't hear from Harry Drost because he's just fixing it when you're not seeing it.
I'm telling you, like I'm always on Harry. I'm always talking junk about him, even on my show. I
he
talk
won't
about
listen
him.
to this part, don't worry.
But if I could, what's that?
He won't listen to this part.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
But to be honest, I know the value of Harry.
Harry's a wizard.
He is very good.
Oh, yeah.
And Harry,
chill.
thank you so much for all what you do.
And he never takes credit for it.
He never does.
He'd rather spend his time ranking on jokes.
Harry Trump.
That's because all that
Harry
saw that Russian money he gets.
and next week, we'll have Markeisha Ricks back. And thanks for listening to Pundit Friday.
Yes.
We're going to take it out with the Afro-Semitic Experience performing I Wish I Knew How It Would Feel. Like they're performing right now. To Be Free. From the group CD, A Plea for Peace. This is Paul Bass, inviting you to fly free with us all weekend long at WNHH, New Haven's home for Community Radio.